Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and today you're going to want to see this one. Anytime you, if I've learned anything in investing over the last, I'm 51 years old now. If I have learned anything all the way from investing in the stock market to investing in gold to investing in crypto, anytime it's a red flag. Anytime you hear all of the media outlets and all they can talk about is a certain thing. We've seen it with, you see it with every type of investment there is. Anytime they're all talking about it, Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. Anytime they're doing that, it always happens. And I'm not saying it's going to happen right now, but I think it's going to happen at I'd call it the Bitcoin doomsday scenario. In the group today, I'm going to lay out for you how I think the Bitcoin doomsday scenario plays out. And I don't think it's happening soon, but I think it could happen in the next 2 to 5 years. And I'm going to lay out for you exactly why and how that would happen. And it's not just my words. Now, if you want to join, go to daixrp.com to join through the Patreon, or you can click the join button below any of my videos on YouTube if you'd rather join through YouTube. Folks, I wanted to show you this because these are the types of texts. These are phishing attempts. I'm hearing it from all directions right now. These hackers are extremely active. They're sending out texts to everyone. They're calling everyone, and they're trying to pretend like they're support for all these exchanges. And the second that you talk to, whatever you do, don't give them any of your passwords or usernames or your keywords or any of that stuff. And don't click on any of these text links. They come in texts and emails. They try to make it look like they're support for one of these companies, or they try to make it look like it's emails coming from one of these companies. They even use the logos and everything. It looks real. Don't click on anything. Now, if you would rather do like I'm doing, that's why I affiliated with Caleb and Brown. I don't have to deal with any of that. Caleb and Brown has similar things. You create a username, password. They have two-factor authentication, which you need to have all of those things. But they have something that I don't think any of these exchanges have, and that is an actual broker you can speak with. You can give them specific instructions when you're setting up your account or your exit strategy and all that. And in my case, I said, look, if you don't talk to me personally, you don't do anything. And then, of course, I get institutional grade custody with it, and I also get massive liquidity. They've got liquidity partners all over the world so that I can actually get out when I want to get out. And I don't have to wonder if my trade's going to go through, or if we just can't, or an exchange locks up. That kind of stuff doesn't happen with Caleb and Brown. So if you want to go and open an account, you can go to my page on Caleb and Brown, go to xrpwealth589.com, and it will forward you. Then you click the sign up today button. The XRP's gone up a little bit. We're at 235 now. Bitcoin's gone up a little bit. Looks like the market's gone up a little bit in general. Now, Brad Garlinghouse tweeted this: the launch of regulated XRP futures on CME Group marks a key institutional milestone for XRP, and very excited to report that Hidden Road cleared the first block trade on CME at the opening. That is massive, folks. And so is this. Here's Senator Bill Hagerty talk. Today is the day. Apparently they're going to vote on the Genius Act tonight.
To vote on an important crypto bill this week. It's known as the Genius Act, and it seeks to regulate stable coins. Joining us right now with the details is Tennessee Republican Senator Bill Hagerty, who is the lead sponsor of the bill. Good morning to you. A lot of crypto.
Good morning, Andrew.
Going to be watching this. How did just take us sort of full back to the beginning on this? How did this even come about, and what does this actually do for folks who don't know?
It's actually born from a great deal of frustration. We started working on the bill in earnest back in the fall. But we've watched what's happened with the absence of any type of regulatory framework here in America. And what we see is this type of innovative technology moving offshore. The last thing I want to see is that. I don't want to see innovation leaving America. It's all happening here right now. But what we saw was a lack of regulatory framework, which means a lack of certainty. And if you're using, enforcement actions from the SEC, which was what has been happening for the past 4 years to regulate the markets, it creates massive amounts of uncertainty. This will fix it.
So, but in terms of just understanding how this bill works and what it does, what is it?
It basically establishes a legal and regulatory framework to issue stable coins here in America. Stable coin is stable, meaning it's backed by a certain currency. In this case, it's tied to the U.S. dollar, but also it's backed either by cash or by short-term U.S. Treasury securities. So it's entirely safe. Having that type of regulatory framework and disclosure around it so we know exactly what's backing up these digital dollars, if you will, is going to be great.
Because what was happening before was the SEC would issue something that basically just scared people, wouldn't tell them what works. They would go after enforcement actions after things that they didn't like, and that left the entire industry saying, what are we allowed to do, what are we not?
But this is a payment mechanism, and not to be confused with...
Who else is a payment mechanism?
Bitcoin or something that has a speculative component. This puts us into a digital payment framework. The fastest rails available. Much better than the system developed in the 70s and 80s, which is slow. It takes days to clear.
And then here he is talking about how it's tonight.
So the issue, as far as I have always understood the stablecoin issue, is what is backing this stuff, and how much of it's backed by actual treasuries versus cash versus equities or something else. What does this say about all of that?
It's not going to be equities. It's going to be high quality, short-term assets, either short-term short-term U.S. Treasuries or cash. I think the majority of it will be U.S. Treasuries. In fact, what this will do, and the projections are by 2030, this is according to Citibank, stablecoin issuers will be the largest holders of U.S. Treasuries in the world.
Who has been fighting this?
Well, the people that like centralized currencies. This is a decentralized concept. Where you register with the various.
No, but I'm so interested in terms of who was trying to get meetings with you for the last year to say, please, this is a terrible idea.
No one in the industry is doing that.
Of course not.
It has to do with my colleagues, and basically, it's gotten to be a question, and we'll find out tonight. We have
tonight's the night.
Broad policy agreement, Democrats and Republicans. The question is, can we get past the partisan politics and allow us to actually have a victory? I would enjoy having a bipartisan victory.
So there's nobody in the industry who's saying this is a bad idea?
No.
So the only people who are saying it's a bad idea to you thus far are, you're saying, just other politicians? For what reason,
it's
though?
Politicians that want to see centralized control.
Right.
And, a centralized control.
Elizabeth Warren.
If you want that, buy the digital yuan. I don't want to see that happen here in America. I think it would be devastating for the dollar's value as the reserve currency. This will actually perpetuate the dollar's value as reserve currency. It will extend that momentum. It's going to extend demand for U.S. Treasuries. There's a lot to like about it.
All right, and then we've got Cody Carbone says, I'm optimistic that today's vote on Genius Act will showcase the Senate's bipartisan commitment to U.S. stablecoin leadership and innovation. Advancing the bill to the floor is essential for cementing U.S. dollar dominance in the digital economy. Let's get it done. And then Chris Giancarlo says, well worth the read, a banger piece here on the vindictive and revanchist, that's a word I don't know if I've ever heard, cabal that tried to kill crypto during the last administration and the shady groups trying to kill the Genius Act. So that's Chris Giancarlo, and then that was Cody Carbone, both of which, here they are, Cody Carbone and Chris Giancarlo are both coming to XRP Las Vegas. Go to xrplasvegas.com, get your tickets. And then John Deaton thinks it's not going to happen. In my opinion, if the Genius Act doesn't pass the Senate, there will be no meaningful legislation involving crypto before the midterms, and unfortunately midterms historically go. He says, in my opinion, if the Genius Act does not pass the Senate, there will be no meaningful legislation. So I don't guess he's saying the reason I have this opinion is because the Genius Act isn't controversial. So if they can't get it passed, a more complex structure bill is highly unlikely. So he's not saying he doesn't think it's going to pass. He's saying that nothing's going to happen if it doesn't pass, is basically what he's saying. And I said, if it doesn't, XRP will stand alone as the only blue chip digital asset with legal clarity post SEC Ripple court settlement. That's a true story, folks. Now, And by the way, John Deaton also will be at XRP Las Vegas. Poly market is putting this thing, they're not putting it at 90%, 96% chance that it'll pass tonight, but by the end of 2025, they're saying there's a 96%. And poly market tends to be pretty darn accurate. So we shall see. Now, you got to see this, folks. I've told you for a long time that I was told XRP was created to replace the petrodollar and prevent World War III. All of a sudden, all these crypto guys are talking about the petrodollar. Go figure.
And in 1971, Nixon informed everyone that, okay, well, there's no longer a link between the dollar and the gold, and this currency is now going to freely float. And that was basically the end of Bretton Woods and the beginning of sort of the petrodollar.
It's interesting because like Bretton Woods was a nice phase off of the British pound sterling, which was kind of the global reserve currency like prior to the dollar. And like Bretton Woods really established the treasury, like U.S. Treasuries, as kind of the global reserve that most countries kind of held. And this is all hard backed by gold. But then, as you said, 1971, something changed, got off the gold standard, and this is now the next phase change, I guess. And by the way, these phase changes happen every like 30 to 40 years, it seems like. So you get about 30 years, 1971, and Nixon takes the U.S. off of the gold standard and bases it on something else, like the petrodollar. So what's the petro in petrodollar? Does that imply some sort of oil backing, and how did this work?
Yeah, so there was basically a very casual or strong, like however you want to describe it, link between the dollar and oil. So I forgot the name of the Treasury Secretary. Basically made a deal with the Saudis and like, hey, if
it's like the best of the time, right?
Yeah, if you sell your oil in dollars, we'll sell you weapons and make sure that your tribe of Bedouin nomads can take over the peninsula. And that was the deal. And when you earn all these dollars, you need to put them in banks, U.S. banks. And so that's what they did. And what do you buy with these? You buy treasuries. And so if the lowest marginal cost producer of petroleum, Saudi Arabia, was only going to sell the fluid that makes the global economy work, hydrocarbons, oil, in dollars, then everybody else had to have dollars. Because you have to have oil. If you don't have oil, you do not have a modern civilization. And so that was essentially the backing of the dollar. And obviously, the U.S. military was there to beat the shit out of anyone who thought that they were not going to do that.
Okay, so I guess the petrodollar era, that was like also linked to a commodity asset, not gold this time, but it was sort of proxy linked to oil and also military involvement. And, it's kind of, as the global hegemon, the U.S. could kind of command this sort of linkage. I kind of thought we were still in the petrodollar era, actually. And I think maybe a lot of crypto listeners sort of think, roughly, look, treasuries are still the global reserve asset. We're in kind of Bretton Woods / petrodollar era. And
I'm very proud of these Bankless guys that run the Bankless podcast. Just a few years ago, all they could talk about was cartoon monkeys. And I told you at that time, this is cartoon monkeys. That's a joke. All this meme stuff. It's not about that. It's never been about that. It's been about the global stage and taking the U.S. into a new financial system for the next 100 years. All that cartoon monkey stuff at best was prototyping what's going to happen, real world asset tokenization. But the idea of investing in cartoon monkeys has always been a joke to me. Now, another thing we've been talking about for a long time, gold revaluation, 3D chess, and they say flip the switch. This could get people, you're not allowed to say flip the switch in the XRP community. The crypto police really get after that, but we don't mind on this channel.
The first half of 2025, Bassett might actually do like something that seems kind of crazy, which is this gold reevaluation on the balance sheet. So like Treasury still carries something like
8,133 metric tons of gold.
That's what they say, right? I mean, we can't see it, but I'm sure it's there. So that much gold, and it's all valued. That bullion is all valued at $42 per ounce. And so you said like a one-time fix, I guess, or a one-time trick Besson could pull is just basically revaluing all of that gold to the current market price. And that would give him an extra like $1 trillion to spend. Do you still see that as a possibility? I mean, you're looking more towards capital controls now, I guess, in the
I mean, I think it absolutely is going to happen. The question is...
You think that's going to happen still?
Yeah, and that's why they want the gold price to go up. They don't want to tell you that it's going up, but how do you have a whole tariff regime and then one of the only things that was exempted from all tariffs was gold, right? So they're saying in not so many words. And every time they ask Besson, are you going to do revalue gold? He said, no, of course not. I'm not going to revalue gold.
Wait. So you're saying this, and this would be like kind of a 3D chess move. So you're saying they bring the capital controls again, which obviously causes, just like if this follows, right? Gold prices spike even harder, right? The tail end of that, gold prices have spiked. I mean, crypto goes along for the ride. That'd be fantastic. We all hope so, right? And then Besson comes out with a one-time trick and reprices that $42 per ounce gold to the market price, which is up, I don't know, another 20%. Like, who knows at this point in time? You're saying that's what they could be playing at.
And then what do you take that, $1 to $5 trillion of free money that they created? Well, it's time for goodies for the electorate for November 2026. It's time. Oh, that 10-year bond yield at 5%. Well, fuck you, bond market. I'm going to slam the fuck out of you. I've got $5 trillion. I'm buying all those bonds back. So get the fuck down, yields, right? And again, it's easier to tell Congress to basically say, the spot price is $5,000. It's $42 on our balance sheet. Do you, politician, want to sit here and tell me you do not want to send money back to your district to get good American jobs by not allowing the Treasury to make use of the gold price at the current market price? When you frame it like that, there's no way that any Republican legislator will ever vote no on that. You just can't. You can't say I'm not voting for jobs for my district or goodies from my district before the election, before I face a very motivated and energized Democratic challenger. Absolutely not. So I think this is a wink and a nod. Yeah, we're not going to tell you that we're going to do the gold revaluation, but I would buy more gold if I was really you. Wink, wink, nod, nod. And then, sometime when it's the most politically expedient and the price is high enough, then they flip the switch, and all of a sudden the Treasury has all this money that they can spend to get reelected and reduce yields.
Flip the switch, folks. Now, we're going to go in DAIXRP.com, the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click the join button below this, any of my YouTube videos to join through YouTube. And we're going to talk about the Bitcoin doomsday scenario. And this is where I think things eventually end up, folks. This will be an eye-opener for you. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Here we go.